Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Paul, and we're so happy you could join us today.
And I'm Amy. In this podcast, we explore everything about learning English, how to speak confidently, how your brain learns a language, and how to overcome the fear of making mistakes.
If you've ever felt nervous about speaking English or worried that you'll say something wrong, today's episode is going to give you a completely new perspective.
Exactly. Most learners think that avoiding mistakes is the key to fluency. But today we'll show you why making mistakes could actually be the fastest way to become fluent.
We're diving into fascinating research and real-life examples that prove something counterintuitive. Mistakes might be your best teacher.
So, if you've ever paused mid-sentence because you were afraid, or repeated a phrase over and over in your head, you're going to love today's episode.
All right, let's jump right in.
Language learning has always been about avoiding mistakes, right? Well, groundbreaking research from MIT just revealed that people who make the most mistakes while learning a language actually become the most fluent speakers.
That completely goes against everything we've been taught. How is that even possible?
Here's what's fascinating. When we make mistakes and correct them, our brains create stronger neural pathways than if we'd gotten it right the first time. The researchers found this pattern consistently across different age groups and language families.
So you're saying those embarrassing moments when I completely butcher a sentence are actually helping me learn?
Exactly. And here's what's really interesting. The emotional centers in our brain light up much more intensely when we're speaking compared to just reading or listening. That's why someone can read complex literature but freeze up ordering a coffee.
Oh my goodness, that explains so much about my experience trying to speak French in Paris. I had studied for years, but completely blanked at the cafe counter.
Well, there's actually a neurological reason for that. When we're stressed about speaking, we literally have less access to the vocabulary and grammar we've learned. It's like our brain puts up a wall between what we know and what we can say.
So how do we get past that barrier? It seems like such a challenging cycle to break.
You know what's fascinating? There's this innovative language school in Singapore that's completely restructured their teaching around this concept. They actually start each session by having students intentionally make mistakes and laugh about them together.
That sounds terrifying, but in a good way. What kind of results are they seeing?
The data is remarkable. Their students show 40% faster progress in speaking abilities compared to traditional methods. And here's the key part. They report 60% lower anxiety levels when using English in real-world situations.
Those numbers are incredible. But don't all these mistakes lead to bad habits forming over time?
That's such an important question. And here's what the research shows. Learners who focus on communication over perfection actually end up with better grammar in the long run because they're getting real-world feedback on what works.
Well, that makes sense when you think about how children learn their first language. They're certainly not worried about perfect grammar.
Exactly that. And here's a mind-blowing statistic. Studies show children make an average of 15 to 20 mistakes per hour when learning their first language. But each of those mistakes is actually helping them build a stronger understanding of how language works.
So when adult learners try to avoid making any mistakes, they're actually working against their brain's natural learning process?
Precisely. And recent neuroscience research reveals something even more fascinating. Multilingual people who learn through this kind of immersive, mistake-friendly approach show significantly greater cognitive flexibility and creative problem-solving abilities.
That's really interesting. So making mistakes doesn't just help with language learning, it actually makes us smarter in other ways too.
Yes, and here's why. When we're constantly adapting and finding new ways to express ourselves, we're building what researchers call cognitive resilience. It's like mental gymnastics for our brain.
You know, this really changes everything about how we should approach learning new skills.
It absolutely does. And you know what's really encouraging about all this research? It suggests that becoming a confident speaker isn't about natural talent or intelligence. It's about being willing to embrace imperfection and keep practicing anyway.
That's such a powerful message for anyone struggling with speaking anxiety. I know I've definitely held myself back because I was afraid of sounding foolish.
And here's one final thought that really brings it all together. When we focus on connection over perfection, we're not just learning a language. We're actually rewiring our brains for greater cognitive flexibility and emotional resilience.
Well, I think I'm going to start embracing my mistakes as learning opportunities instead of feeling embarrassed about them.
That's exactly the mindset shift that leads to success. Remember, if you're not making mistakes, you're probably not learning as effectively as you could be. So get out there and make some beautiful mistakes.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We hope this episode gave you a fresh perspective on mistakes and learning English. See you in the next episode for more tips, science, and strategies to become a confident English speaker.